Welcome. Today we will enter the realm of mythology to meet one of the most iconic beasts in history. This is not a monster that seeks to destroy everything in its path, but one that has a specific job, guarding a gate. We are talking about Cerberus, also known as the Hound of Hades. To understand this beast, we must first understand its home, Hades. There is a common misconception derived from the Judeo-Christian view that hell is below and heaven is above. However, for the ancient Greeks, the concept was different. Everything was in the same place, the underworld. Hades was the final destination for everyone. If you were a hero or a virtuous person, you went to the Elysian fields. If you deserved punishment, you ended up in Tartarus. But both destinations were within the same realm, owned by the god Hades. Hades is not the god of death, that role belongs to Thanatos, but rather the owner of the land, the administrator of souls and the riches of the underworld. And to ensure that the system worked, Hades needed a guardian. Cerberus's job was not to prevent people from entering, but to make sure that no one left. Once you cross over, there is no turning back. What does this guardian really look like? Popular culture has given us many versions, but if we go to the classical sources, the description is terrifying. The most widely accepted version tells us that it has 3 heads. However, some ancient poets and mythological descriptions went so far as to say that it had up to 50 heads, although the triad is the definitive image. But Cerberus is not just a dog with extra heads. In many classical versions and in the art of ancient Greek vases, he is depicted with a poisonous snake tail. Even more disturbing, multiple snakes sprout randomly from his body, back, and sides. He is a mass of canine and reptile designed to cause terror. Such a creature is not born out of nowhere. It comes from a family of horrors. His mother is Echidna, known as the mother of all monsters, a creature half woman and half snake. His father is Typhon, the most terrifying titan in Greek mythology, whom even the gods of Olympus feared. And Cerberus is not an only child. He has less famous canine brothers, also a monstrous siblings. Among them are the Lernaean Hydra and the Chimera. He also has a less famous canine brother, Orthrus. Unlike Cerberus's 3 heads, Orthrus had only 2 and worked as a shepherd dog for the giant Geryon. Monstrosity runs in his veins. In ancient times, the word monster was associated with bad omens and natural aberrations. Despite his ferocity, Cerberus was outwitted on a couple of occasions. The first story involves the greatest musician in mythology, Orpheus. Orpheus was not a warrior, he was an artist. It was said that he played the lyre and sang so well that he could lift stones and build buildings with his music alone. He was deeply in love with Eurydice, a nymph of great beauty. But their love story was tragic. One day, a satyr, a lustful creature, chased Eurydice with evil intentions. As she fled, she stepped on a nest of vipers, was bitten, and died. Devastated, Orpheus played such sad songs that he moved the gods themselves, who allowed him to descend into the underworld to search for her. Guided initially by Hermes and then facing Charon, the ferryman, Orpheus managed to cross the river Styx using only his music to enchant the ferryman. But the real challenge lay at the gate, Cerberus, the 3-headed dog prepared to attack the living intruder. Orpheus, instead of fighting, began to play. The melody was so hypnotic that the wild beast calmed. It is said that Cerberus, the untamable monster, even began to dance to the rhythm of the music, allowing him to pass. Hades and Persephone, moved by the music, agreed to return Eurydice on one condition. Orpheus had to walk towards the exit and she would follow behind, but he could not turn around to look at her until they were both completely out of the underworld. Orpheus kept his promise throughout the journey, but just as they emerged, feeling the sunlight, doubt overcame him. He turned around. Eurydice still had one foot in the shadows. He had broken the deal. She was dragged back into darkness forever. Orpheus defeated the dog but lost to himself. His end was tragic. By rejecting others because of his pain, he ended up being torn apart by the Maenads, followers of Dionysus. If Orpheus used music, our next protagonist used brute force. We are talking about Hercules or Heracles. Heracles was performing 12 impossible tasks as penance for killing his family in a fit of madness caused by the goddess Hera. He served his cousin, King Eurystheus, who hated him and sought to humiliate or kill him with these tasks. Heracles had already overcome 11 trials, facing the Nemean lion, the Hydra, and other monsters. For the final task, number 12, Eurystheus asked for the inconceivable, to bring Cerberus. The logic was simple. No one enters Hades, kidnaps the guardian, and comes out alive. Heracles prepared himself by initiating himself into the Eleusinian mysteries to learn how to navigate the world of the dead. Upon descending, he encountered extreme situations, such as rescuing the hero Theseus, who was trapped in a stone chair. It is said that Heracles had to pull so hard that he tore part of the skin of his thighs to free him. Finally, Heracles appeared before his uncle Hades. Contrary to popular belief, Heracles asked for permission. Hades agreed, but set a strict condition. You can take the dog if you manage to subdue it without using weapons. No arrows, no swords, no clubs. Heracles, protected by the skin of the Nemean lion, which made him almost invulnerable, confronted the beast. He grabbed Cerberus by the neck, or rather by the necks, and applied suffocating pressure. Despite the bites from the heads and the attacks from the serpent's tail, Heracles maintained his hold until the beast, suffocated and defeated, surrendered. Heracles carried the hellish dog to the surface and brought it before Eurystheus. The king, terrified at the sight of the monster in his palace, ran to hide inside a bronze jar. Heracles had accomplished his task. Cerberus was later returned to his post in the underworld. And finally, we must address a curiosity circulating on the internet about the name Cerberus. There is a popular theory that the etymological root of Kerberos comes from a Proto-Indo-European word related to the Sanskrit Sabala, which would mean stained. According to this, Hades would have named his guard dog Stains. Although it's a charming idea, the academic reality is less amusing. Linguistic experts point out that the connection is very weak and probably false. The confusion comes from the Rig Veda, an ancient Indian text, where the god of death, Yama, has two dogs, whose one of them is described as Sabala. However, this reveals something fascinating. The, quote, guard dog of death trope is a universal trope. In India, it is Yama's dogs. In Norse mythology, we have Garm, the bloodied dog that guards the realm of Hela. In ancient Mexico, both the Maya and Mexica believed in the need for a dog, such as the Xoloitzcuintli, to cross into the afterlife. In Egypt, Anubis, with the head of a jackal, not only embalmed the dead, but also participated in the Last Judgment, weighing the heart of the deceased with a feather before the beast Amit. It seems that throughout human history, we've always felt the need for a canine guide, a psychopump, to help us cross the final threshold. Cerberus lives on in our culture today, appearing in sagas of wizards, video games, and animated films. He represents that insurmountable boundary between life and death, the ultimate guardian who reminds us that there are doors that once crossed cannot be reopened. Thank you for joining us on this journey to the underworld. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of beasts and mythology. Until next time.